You guys, today I'm going to give you some tips for selling your stuff online so that you can get as much money as you can for selling your old stuff. My name's Leslie, and 2 years ago my family downsized by 90%. We needed the money from the things we were selling because we were selling almost everything. So I played with a variety of ways to sell things, and I found that I made the most money when I sold stuff online. There are a ton of different ways to sell things online, and I'm sure that there are more and more new ways and new apps coming all the time. So I'm going to tell you about what I did and my whole process and what I used for selling our stuff online. It was really hard for me to get started with this because I had a little bit of a block with the amount of time it was going to take, just the work that goes into it, taking photos, measuring things, pricing things, and when you're selling 90% of the stuff you've got, it's a daunting task. But I needed the money, so I went ahead and got started. And once I got started, I kind of got a routine. I made a goal of listing like 5 or 10 things every night. So it's a big task, but if you break it out into bite-sized pieces, you'll be able to manage it. So what I did is first I would take photos of the items. So I've gathered all my items together that I want to sell. And one of the things that I did is I decided that if it was less than $10, I wasn't even going to try to sell it online. If it was less than $10, it really wasn't worth my time to take pictures and measure it and make the post and meet the people and do all the stuff. So it had to be at least worth $10 in order for me to list it. And of course, everybody may feel differently about that, but if it was under $10, it was just going in a garage sale and that was it. So I took the stuff that I thought might be worth $10 or more, and I would go to eBay and I would look it up on eBay to see what was a similar thing selling for, what were people buying this for online. Then I would take that pricing and take it down just a notch, because realistically I wanted this stuff to go fast. It was just a bonus that I was getting money for it. Of course, I needed the money, but it wasn't a job. I needed the stuff to be gone as quickly as possible, so I wanted my pricing to be low enough that it would go quickly, but high enough that I'd get a little bit of money back for it. Next step is to make sure you get good photos of your items. So if you've got really bad photos, your stuff's just not gonna sell as quickly. So I actually put up a little backdrop and shined some lights on stuff and took pictures of items individually. Now luckily I had a space in my house that I was able to set this up and leave it as a setup as I went through the whole process. So I would every night take items in, photograph them. So I started pricing out things higher than I expected people to really buy them for. And shockingly, I sold a lot of stuff like that. There were some things that I couldn't even believe how much money I sold them for. Especially toys. I don't know, I sold some toys that I wouldn't have expected to get hardly anything for, and people were just lined up wanting them. So I took the pictures and then I went ahead and measured things, because one thing I realized after getting into the online sales is people were always asking for the size of things. So I would go ahead and measure them. I kept a list. I would write down the picture, write down what the measurements were, and then what I was going to price it at. And then I started also keeping track of where I listed it, because there was a while where I was listing in like a million different places, and then it got confusing and I was like, what did I say I listed it for there? Another thing you want to do when you're selling online is you want to go ahead and take pictures of any flaws. You don't want people to come over to pick it up and be like, no, I'm not buying this, or be unhappy with it, or disagree on the pricing because it's got some flaws they didn't know about. You want them to know everything up front so that they can make a choice on whether they actually want this item specifically or not, and whether they want to pay you what they'll pay you for it. So I tried a ton of different places to sell online, and I'd have a little bit of luck here and there with different things. There are tons of different places that you can do it. My favorites were Craigslist, although Craigslist can be a little bit sketchy. It was a website I was really familiar with and had used a bunch, so I went ahead and did it. I always made sure that my boyfriend was at home when someone would come by to pick something up. you post the item on Craigslist, and then you get an email that is about your post, and if you want to go and update your post, you just go and like click a button from the email. So I was able to manage everything through my email with the Craigslist postings and to update them so that they'd move back up to the top of the list regularly. Facebook was an unexpected place that I started selling things. I used many different Facebook like sale sites and swap sites. They usually have those locally, so you just need to check with your area. Now, I looked really closely at these different sites, or these different pages, I guess, and evaluated the pages. And what I found was that I ended up posting stuff on multiple different pages, and it became a little too much to manage for me. So I found one that had a lot of people as part of the group. And then I went through and looked at the postings to see, was somebody posting something every day, or was this page only being posted to every few days? Were people actually buying things through here? Were people commenting on stuff? So I found one that had a whole lot of members, a lot of stuff listed, and people were picking it up regularly. I think it also might have been like a mom sale group, so it was mostly women. And as a woman, that was kind of important to me. I didn't really want to deal with a whole bunch of men. I also tried to have people come and pick things up at my office. That way I wasn't having people come over to my home. Sometimes they did have to come over to my home because we sold a lot of big furniture. I also started using an app called OfferUp, and that one went pretty well too. And because I was actively doing it for a certain period of time, I went ahead and let those notifications come through, and then I knew in real time and didn't have to like go in and check it regularly, but I knew because of the notifications that someone was looking at something. And some of that stuff went so fast I couldn't even believe it, because someone would contact you through the app, and then you'd arrange a place to meet, and then they'd come and pick up the item and be done with it. So that stuff went really fast. The nice thing about using Facebook is that you can look at the person's profile a little bit and see if they're a real person, and if they, if there's anything like funny about them. Also, if anything happens, you kind of have information about the person that didn't come pick stuff up, or that was weird, or something like that. So the best thing to do is, when you're getting started, try a few different venues. If you know anyone local that can suggest where they've had good luck selling stuff, use that information, because every area is different. And I've lived many different places, and some places Craigslist was really big and there was tons of stuff listed, and other places it was like, oh, we don't even have a Craigslist here, or yeah, Craigslist exists but nobody uses it. So you need to be where people are using it, local people are using it, unless you do something like eBay. But shipping and just the whole eBay thing made me feel sick to my stomach, and I was like not ready for that kind of stress when I was already doing this huge downsize and getting ready to move into this tiny space. So I couldn't handle the eBay thing or the Amazon thing, although I think people make good money on those. I wanted something that was local and quick. I'm no good with shipping stuff, so I did not want to have to deal with that. But the main things when you're selling online are to take some decent photos. They don't have to be professional, but take decent photos. Make sure you take photos of all the flaws so that people have all the information that they need. Measure things. People always want to know about the measurements of something. And then just price it high and see what happens. Not super high, but like price it at your top dollar that you would like to get. And then if nobody bites, decide when you want to start going down and go down from there. If you want something sold real quick, sell it real cheap. Play with some different things, but then choose one or two or three that are your favorites, because if you have too many, it can become completely overwhelming. And the process of downsizing and selling your stuff is already overwhelming to begin with, so you don't need to add overwhelm to overwhelm. So those are my tips for selling online. If you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you think your friends would get some value out of it, share it with your friends. And I would love if you subscribe for more like this. If you have a favorite place that you have sold online, or your favorite tip for selling it online, please leave that in the comments below so that we can all benefit from your knowledge too. All right, you guys, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
Am I hearing like a bug or something?
I probably will cut all that out.